We shift our focus back to the New York Jets. We're standing by as a guy who's covered the Jets for every single year of their playoff drought. That's right. It's Brian Costello from the New York Post. Kaz, I know you don't like the fact that I brought up that your first full-time year on the beat was 2011.
Yeah, I get blamed, Jake. Some people blame me for the drought here. I promise. I have nothing to do with it, and I look forward to someday covering a playoff game.
I think every Jet fan is hoping that happens soon. In terms of today, everything I read was David Bailey looked like Lawrence Taylor
Yeah.
out there. So what did you see from the number 2 pick in the draft?
Yeah, it was definitely the David Bailey day, Jake. I wrote about it. We'll be up on nypost.com soon, I think. And, you can give all the caveats. It's July. They don't have pads on. We all know that. But this guy looked like the real deal today. He flashed yesterday a little bit, but today it was dominant. Like he was, he was beating Membu. He was beating Olu. He was Brees Hall one time came to double team him, and he split the double team between him and Membu. Sacks are in the eye of the beholder in training camp because they don't bring the quarterback down. But we all kind of agreed he would have had 3 sacks in a real game, situation today. And you just see the speed that he has, Jake. But he's using his hands. He just looks like he's sure of himself. He's making plays, and there was a run to the outside, and he shed the blocker. He would have had a tackle for loss there. He just had a really, really impressive day.
It felt like until really today he'd been just quiet or just flying under the radar. Not that they've had a lot of practices, but just like amongst people in the media and fans. I can't remember a year where a number 2 pick had less fanfare. So it's nice to hear this. What are your thoughts on just him as a rookie? What are reasonable expectations for the number 2 pick in the draft?
Well, I mean, reasonable expectation number 2 pick in the draft is to have an impact, right? You took him number 2, not to just be a wallflower in year 1. So I think I think they can expect a lot from him now. What's that sack total? I think that depends on things like how the Jets defense is overall. If they can't cover guys, it's hard to get sacks. Like one thing leads to the other, right? We talked about this a ton with the interceptions last year. People say, oh, well, they weren't getting a lot of pass rush and that quarterbacks had time. They're married together. So is the Jets defense overall better this year, and can that allow him to get some sacks? But I think he'll have a decent number of sacks this year. And Jake, to me, I know your favorite topic is Aaron Glenn and his future. I think a big piece of this is David Bailey in this rookie class, because I'm not sure anyone out there is predicting a lot of wins for the Jets or a great season. And I know we all talk about how many wins will it take for Aaron Glenn to come back. To me, it's more about how does it look. And let's say David Bailey has a huge year under Aaron Glenn's tutelage, and Sadiq shows thing, and Cooper shows something, and Pond shows something. Like now, the conversation when you're talking about 2027, if things are looking up for the Jets, and you feel like they have this good young core, I think that helps Aaron Glenn's case.
Brian Costello is our guest from the New York Post, talking all things Jets. And to your point, just on Glenn, if you remember, in Robert Saleh's second year, they started 6-3, they were 7-4. And a lot of that was not because Zach Wilson was any good. It was because Brees Hall was the rookie of the year till he got hurt. Garrett ended up being the offensive rookie of the year. Sauce was an all-pro. Like, they got a ton from their rookies right away. And I feel like the one thing Darren Muji and Glenn have done with this roster, the last 2 years, they've injected a lot of young talent. And if they're coached properly, I think this team could be a lot better than maybe some think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also, does that translate to wins? I'm not 100% sure, right? Like there's still holes. I have questions about Geno Smith. There's questions about the secondary. There's questions about this team, and they are young players. They're not going to be consistently great every single week. That would be surprising. Rookies have ups and downs. But I do think, Jake, a big part of this evaluation is how do you feel about this team in December? Do you feel like it's funny? I feel like everything about the Jets right now is about 2027, except for the conversation about Aaron Glenn. When it's Aaron Glenn, it's how he has to win games this year. So I think he could shift that where he's part of the conversation for 2027 if things are looking up and you feel really good about this young core because, like you said, they have some good young players, and you still consider Garrett and Brees, they're kind of getting into their prime now. I'm not sure how they're 26 and 25, so they're not old, but there's a good core here. And I think we all feel like they need that quarterback to accelerate things, and that's coming in 2027. But it's going to be interesting to see how these rookies perform and if that helps Aaron Glenn's case.
So in Aaron Glenn's case now, you look at the season, Brian, and I also think it's not just like a specific win total like you, but I think how you get to the final record, I think it matters. For instance, they can't do what Adam Gase did in his first year. They started 1-7, and then they were 6-2 over their final 8 and finished 7-9. Glenn was 0-7 last year. So you look at their schedule, and I've gotten some pushback for this, but I really believe it. I think Week 1 is as big of a game the Jets have had in a very long time. I'll call it a must-win because if they lose that game, why would I then expect them to beat the Packers, the Lions, or the Bears? You can't be 0-4 after you were 0-7. I just think you have to win Week 1 against Robert Saleh, who's apparently telling Jet fans that he's going to kick their ass. Like, the Jets have to win that game, Brian.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jake. You never know, though, right? Like, it's not inconceivable that they could beat the Packers at home, or they could pull off a shocking result in Detroit or Chicago. So, yeah, if they start 0-4, you're right. That's a disaster. But I think, I do think you're right. I think it depends how it looks. And I'll go back Eric Mangini's last year, right? They're 8-3, and we're talking about, is this team going to the Super Bowl after they beat an undefeated Tennessee team in Nashville, by the way? And that was the conversation. And then they collapse down the stretch. Brett Favre gets hurt and he loses his job. And that was kind of how the season unfolded. There's other years where Rex kept his job in 2013 because they looked pretty good at the end of the season. So I do think it's a big deal how they look. And a brutal start or a brutal ending might doom Aaron Glenn.
In terms of Geno Smith, as we're talking with Brian Costello here on ESPN New York, Jake Asman sitting in for Michael Kay. What have you seen from Geno so far? I know it's only 2 practices, but I will say this, just listening to his first press conference, I like the accountability he showed, owning the offseason distraction stuff. What were your experiences talking to Geno and just watching the first 2 practices?
Yeah, I think Geno knew what he was going to say there. And give him credit. He nipped it in the bud. Like, he didn't have to talk to us. That was report day. He could have pushed it off a little bit if he wanted to, and clearly he wanted to get that out of the way. And he wasn't asked a question. He just walked up and said it. So I think he knew what he had to do there. In terms of on the field, Jake, is what I expect. Like, Geno still has a really good arm. He makes some really nice throws. He has not turned it over. There was one near pick yesterday. That'll come, right? Because he takes chances, and he should take chances in practice.
Are you sure that's going to happen in practice? We know the Jets, they'll get interceptions, Brian.
Oh, see, Jake, that's the Jets fan there, just taking shots at the defense. But yeah, it'll happen at some point. And he, it hasn't been amazing. Like, this is not Aaron Rodgers. I just saw somebody, tweeted the video of Aaron Rodgers from Hard Knocks, right? Like, this isn't Aaron Rodgers highlight film like that 2023 training camp. It's not. He's not flashy like that, but it's what you'd expect from Geno. He's making some good throws. He's on time. He looks like a professional quarterback. The ball doesn't hit the ground a lot.
Brian Costello, our guest here. So I was listening to you on the podcast you do, Gangs All Here, with Ryan Sampson and Frankie V, and every Jet fan should tune into that. And one of the comments you made was about Cade Klubnik, that he's going to get a real chance here to compete for the backup job. Then I listened to Glenn's presser today, and he's raving about Cade Klubnik. So give us the breakdown on Klubnik. Is he going to be the backup quarterback when the Jets open the season in Tennessee?
It's too soon to know, Jake, right? July 29th, we got a ways to go. July 30th, what's today? I'm losing track of the days already, training camp. But it's too soon to know. But he's looked good. And what I said on there, and I'll say here, I think the Jets are going to give him every chance in the world to win the number 2 job. I think they want him to win the number 2 job. I think they'd feel good. They clearly like him. Like you said, Glenn was raving about him. Frank Reich likes him. I thought Muji kind of had a tell when he was asked about the quarterback position. He mentioned Klubnik first right away, and so they like him. The key for him, Jake, is going to be the joint practices with the Buccaneers and the preseason games, right? That's when you're going to get a feel for, can he be the number 2 quarterback? It's risky, right? It's going to be risky. He's a rookie. I think you'd like someone a little more experienced back there if Geno gets hurt, but I do think he's got a solid chance of winning the job.
If the Jets season goes off the rails, and let's say Geno's healthy in this scenario, how fast could we actually see Cade Klubnik play? Because if you're Aaron Glenn and you're trying to save your job, I doubt you want to hand things over to a day 3 rookie in that spot. So I'm just fascinated by the dynamics of like when we would even see Klubnik, assuming Geno's healthy.
Probably November would be the earliest, I would think. And but the flip side of that, Jake, is what we were just talking about with Aaron Glenn. Does he think he can win some games with Klubnik and kind of sell Woody on, like, look at the development I've done with these rookies, and like I've got something going moving forward? He could sell that kind of thing. I don't think he could sell Klubnik as the quarterback going for the future. I think they're going to take someone next year, but I do think Klubnik could help him if he looks good playing at the end of the year. And he's looked good. Like he makes a lot of nice passes. You can clearly see the talent that is there that made him such a big prospect when he went to Clemson, and really up until last year at Clemson, he was thought highly of as a draft prospect.
The Jake Asman Show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks right now. If you're a sports fan, they have something for everyone, especially if you're one of my listeners and you're gearing up for the upcoming Jets season. For player picks on PrizePicks, you just pick a player you like and you go more or less on a few of their stats. Check out some of the numbers they have for some of your favorite Jet players: Geno Smith, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr., Kenyon Sadiq, and many more. PrizePicks should be your go-to. And check out their new offer right now. Play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you need to do is sign up and use that code HMA. That's PrizePicks code HMA. Download the app now or click the link in the description to download the PrizePicks app today.
Two players I want to ask you about, because it feels like a lot of the players, like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall in particular, have referenced them. Just some of the veterans they added, right? They bring back Demario Davis. They trade for Minka Fitzpatrick. How have you seen them interact with the other players on the team? Is it obvious that infusion of veteran leadership is apparent so far?
Yeah, just from talking to guys like what you said, like Garrett was really good the other day, and Breece, both of them, talking about that. And I think DeMario, he's always had this way about him, even when he was a young player, first with the Jets. I can remember Jake interviewing Darrelle Revis the first spring DeMario was here after he was drafted, and Revis telling me, like, there's something about this guy, right? And Rex used to compare him to Ray Lewis in terms of his leadership. And so he's always had that kind of way about him, and now he's 15 years into the league. So he commands a respect, and Minka's resume speaks for itself. So I don't think Minka's as vocal as DeMario is, but I think Minka, they just gets a respect because of what he's done in this league. So yeah, I think it's a little different. It's added some things. I think it helps Aaron Glenn to have those guys in the locker room. He didn't have that last year. And it was interesting. Garrett said, well, they haven't been here to be part of our blunders, was the word Garrett used. And it is an interesting point. It's something I've talked about before. The Jets constantly battle, like, here we go again, right? When things go south in the season, it always feels like the past comes back, and we're talking about the streak, and we're talking about what happened in 2022 or 2023, or, so having these guys here, even though DeMario was part of this team a long time ago, they don't have that recent baggage with them. And I think that's weighs heavy on some of these players. We saw with Quinnen Williams last year, kind of why he wanted out. He was just tired, I think, of the Jets losing. And so to have some guys in positions, and I'd throw Geno in there too as a veteran, that haven't gone through that, I think that does help them manage some of the adversity that's coming.
Brian, really appreciate your time. Continued success, and hopefully one of these years you do, in fact, get to cover a Jet playoff game. What a concept that would be.
That would be something. It would be something, Jake. I won't know what to do with myself if I get to do that. So.
Good day today for the New York Jets on the practice field. This is from Rich Cimini, who tweeted this after practice ended today. Practice number 2 in the books. Big day for the Jet defense, which harassed Geno Smith. Rookie David Bailey led the way. 3 sacks unofficially. His quickness and short area acceleration jump out. It'll be fascinating to gauge his development throughout camp, especially when the pads go on. The starters got more reps than yesterday. Geno Smith was 3 for 4 with 4 sacks. Cade Klubnik was 6 for 7. Smith connected with A.D. Mitchell a couple of times, including a well-thrown out route. Tight end Kenyon Sadiq also had an active day, showing off his various skills. This is what you want to hear. Sadiq getting involved. David Bailey having a big day. That's what you want to see from the Jets. You want to see this team take a gigantic step forward. If you want to have some optimism, it's the young players they added to this team. You added 3 first-rounders, including the number 2 pick, and you added 4 players in the top 50. The injection of youth is what will give you some hope if you're a fan of this Jets team. It's how they got off to that 6-3 start I referenced last hour in 2022. Here was Glenn earlier today talking about David Bailey.
He's everything that we expect him to be. It'll be really exciting once we put the pads on. I think we all understand through these acclimation days, we're still in shorts, but just to be able to see the energy and the speed and the quickness off the edge and the ability to hold a strong edge and the way that he wants to play the run game is everything that I imagined from that player. And it was actually just more than him. You saw JJ Inkambari, right? You saw him. He was pretty active today playing on the edge. So I'm happy with all those guys. Will did some good things also today. So when it just comes to that edge group, I thought those guys did a pretty good job today.
Glenn was asked, what are your expectations for the 3 first-round picks?
Well, the expectations is for all those guys to have a role, but they have to decide that themselves. You guys have heard me say this before. I mean, we're out there trying to compete, and no one's giving anything. So they determine that role. And I'm always be honest with those guys in that aspect. Listen, here's what we need you to do. Here's how you can do it. And here's how you got to compete to beat this guy out, because that guy's not going to let you just have it. So, and I want to create that type of environment here. So the expectations, yes, they have a big role, but they have to decide that themselves.
I mean, they all need to have big roles. They all need to. Like, David Bailey should play 65% of the snaps as a rookie. Oh, he might not be good against the run. Who cares? Play him every snap and let him get better at it. He's the second pick in the draft. And it's good to hear he had a great day today with the 3 sacks, because up until today, I can't remember an NFL team using the number 2 pick on a player that had less fanfare than the Jets drafting David Bailey. Right? No one talks about this guy. The guy was the best pass rusher in college football this past year. He went number 2, and then no one said a word about him for months. I get it. When they had the number 2 pick the last time, they took Zach Wilson. It's a quarterback. It just comes with so much more, obviously. But still, no one talked about David Bailey. He's a true difference maker for the Jets, potentially. Right? The Jets, I think, improved with their moves in the offseason. They added Demario Davis. They traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick. They signed Joseph Asai and Kingsley Enagbare. Like, they added pros to their defense. Their defense was unwatchable last year. It also was the worst coach defense you'll ever see. Ever. Ever. And now Aaron Glenn, who I have questions about as a head coach, he's at least a better defensive coordinator than Steve Wilkes. I don't think play calling is his superpower. I think that quote was foolish and will be used against him ad nauseum if the Jet defense stinks. But I think they improved defensively with Glenn as the play caller. But they have a lot of, just okay, nice players. They don't have any stars on the defense. Quinnen and Sauce were stars. They traded them. Bailey has to be a star. You drafted him to be a star, not to be good. You take a player number 2 overall. You're saying we think this guy's going to be one of the best in the league at his position. And it's a premium position. They make incredible amounts of money. That's the value of David Bailey on his rookie deal. His entire rookie contract is less than what Myles Garrett's going to make in a single season. That's the value. So you got to get something out of him. You got to get a lot from him. So it's good to hear he had a good day today. And the other takeaway from the Jets summer so far that I personally have is the Jets really like Cade Klubnik. 4th round pick, they traded up for him, so they obviously have some likeness for the guy from the beginning. Like, they had some sort of infatuation with him if you're going to trade up 18 spots in the 4th round to take him. It's risky to give a day 3 pick the backup job, but they're giving him a chance to win. He's competing with Bailey Zappi and Brady Cook. I think Klubnik's going to be the Jets QB too. And we know how this works with the Jets. If you're a quarterback on the Jets, you get in the game. You play at some point. Other than, ironically, the year after Rodgers went down 4 plays in and he started all 17 games, every year the Jets play at least 2 starting quarterbacks since 2016 on. Every year. Last year, Brady Cook, who? Yes, he played 5 games for them last season. You have Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, Mike White, Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco twice. Every year the Jets always have multiple starters. Luke Falk, remember him? Oh. Like, these guys all get in. So at some point, whether Geno gets hurt, and he's been durable, so I don't think it's necessarily because of that, but you never know, or just because the Jets aren't any good and they're out of it, you're going to see Geno Smith go to the bench, and the Jets will give Cade Klubnik a shot down the stretch. Their bye week is week 13. It's the latest the Jets have ever had a bye in their franchise's history. Couldn't you see the last 5 games of the year Cade Klubnik playing? if the Jets are out of it? It would make sense for him to play. You want to find out if you have anything with him. If Cade Klubnik ends up being a solid backup, that's a win in the 4th round. When you consider how much money good backups go for, that's a nice find for the Jets if that's what Klubnik is. But what if he's more than that? The dream scenario for every Jet fan is that Cade Klubnik somehow comes in and he's Dak Prescott or Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins, right? 3rd or 4th round pick that blossoms into being a franchise QB. That's the pie in the sky, dream scenario. And then you have 3 first-round picks and the most cap space in the NFL going into next offseason. And you could really build the team around him. But, man, they like themselves some Cade Klubnik. Here's Aaron Glenn talking about Cade.
Man, he made some throws today, didn't he? Listen, we knew exactly what we were getting. We understand his trajectory when he got to Clemson, how when he came into Clemson as I think he was the number 1 recruit when it comes to a quarterback. And then he had some issues, but then he picked himself up. So we know that the hills that he's had in his college career, and that's the thing that we're intrigued by him because he was able to bounce back and continue to go. And to me, that shows leadership too. When things went down, man, he continued to go. So I thought he made some really good throws today. He's still improving on what we asked him to do. And again, we look forward to see how he progresses during camp.
They're going to give him a real chance to be the backup QB. And look, he's going to play a lot in the preseason. And he should. I don't need to see Geno Smith or Bailey Zappi or Brady Cook play in the preseason. I'd rather watch the rookie. I'd rather watch Klubnik. Let's see what we have. Let's see what he could do. The other thing I want to highlight from Aaron Glenn is he might have given us the soundbite of summer in his first press conference yesterday. Here's Aaron Glenn's objective with the media this summer.
I'm not trying to be a butthole.
Words to live by. Now, it's interesting. That might have been the one time where you're actually better off saying the full curse word there as opposed to using the term butthole.
I'm not trying to be a butthole.
But for radio purposes, I'm glad he didn't because it gives us a great drop.
I'm not trying to be a butthole.
So I'd like to say thank you to Aaron Glenn for that one.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.